Hello, everybody. I know this is a contentious title. It is a really contentious title. I stand by it. I think that out of all the people, there is one person with some of the dumbest arguments on the internet, and that is Bubblegum Gum. He is the gold standard of sort of arguments that don't follow, the non sequitur, cobbled together arguments that just don't make any sense whatsoever. They don't follow any kind of rational structure. I think we found out the reason for this, but this is where I went to Praise's room and started to ask, like, do you think this is actually convincing? And sort of had a brief conversation with Praise, sort of explaining what is meant by necessary beings and things like that. But also when Bubblegum Gun drops in, it just becomes madness. And there's a reason why there is gnomes in the thumbnail, and his arguments are, to say abysmal would be generous, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So if you're wondering about the $1 million bet kind of thing, it was basically he bet me that a certain dog was the link between wolves and dogs, and says, hey, I overrode that. I debunked it, so you owe me $1 million. I bet him in exchange that dogs did in fact descend from wolves, which I have provided so much documentation on. It's ridiculous, because of course we can genetically tell where dogs came from. They came from grey wolves with another types of wolves all mixed in. So he thinks he's got this great argument, but my point is that overwhelmingly we know that dogs, anyway, it's a silly argument, and he doesn't seem to realize this. So it's kind of sad, and it's kind of frustrating when somebody is that sort of deceitful and just doesn't make an argument, more just asserts things and just asserts them over and over, sort of dogmatic assertion, without trying to provide any reason or any kind of logic behind why they think that way. So I hope you enjoy. It gets ridiculous, it gets crazy, it gets just, the madness of Bubbles is on full display. The way that he describes his thought patterns is incredible. So hope you enjoy, and I will see you next time.
Yeah,
Hey,
because
there's Mark Reid. What's up, buddy? Like, long time.
It's cannibalizing my relos, mate.
Do you actually think that Sam did a good job here?
Hey, there's Mark Reid. What's up, buddy?
Hey.
I think he was actually, being lenient on him. I think you could have been.
Do you actually think that Sam did a good job here?
I think he was actually, being
Well, can I ask a
lenient on
question
him.
also?
No.
Why? That's so mean. Why are you so mean?
Yes, you can.
Wow, the charity. No, I think that Sam did terribly. I think that all of his stuff sort of, because he said he'd keep providing evidence, he'd provide evidence, and then he just made assertions like what actual sort of, he said it'd meet Grayson's standard of evidence, but like he never did.
Yeah. Well, I think he could have elucidated better.
Eats a banana. Every time an evolution eats a banana, he's committing cannibalism.
So one thing I want to ask about this, and maybe you can answer this, Jason. So it depends which definition of related you're using, because I've noticed there's a conflation going on. Like, so, where I would say, hey,
right,
I'm not
just making a joke.
I'm not. Well, the problem is that. Well, the problem is that some people use it seriously. Like Ken Hovind uses that seriously. Like, the whole idea is that I wouldn't say I'm related to Praise, right? I'm not in his family. But when we say related,
how dare you? Like, I would not be like to be related to Praise. You're right. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Wow. All right. Well, that's some shade being thrown right there. Wow. No. So what claims are being made that Grayson has to back up here? That's what I'm wondering. Like, what claims would I be making as an atheist? Right.
Doug does have a gap in his teeth, so.
Who?
Well, I would say common ancestry is one of them. The fossil record, like all these things are assumed. I think in post hoc rationalizations.
Right, but that's based upon empiricism
Lord
and,
help me,
and
I'm related to
rationalism, right?
praise. Oh no.
Well, that aside, that's all related to empiricism. Okay, so um, in some way, you have to acknowledge that your senses have some sort of base level, right? So if we presuppose that the senses are like examining reality, if they're not 100% accurate, they're pretty accurate, they're reasonably accurate. So in some way, you'd
Yeah.
have to say, well, at a fundamental level, we have to
It's
presuppose our
called whiskey,
senses.
mate.
Well, I don't think whiskey's going to help you justify your senses, quite frankly. I think it's going to be detrimental to justifying your senses because you'll probably be blacked out.
It dulls them down, but you've got to make excuses for Aussies.
Well, so basically, you're presupposing your senses, and you're presupposing some sort of logic and rationality kind of thing, and maybe the inductive process. But how are you supposed to um, justify that? And if you're basically rejecting those presuppositions, what are you doing talking to somebody? If you want to reject your senses, like, if you're basically saying, hey Grayson, I reject your presupposition of the senses, why are you talking to him at all? Because you're expecting him to hear you.
Well, I would say
Go
it's
praise.
not. Yeah, so it's not that we're against these senses. I mean, I think that God gave us it for us to discover certain things. What in our experience of reality. There's nothing wrong with that. But to justify your senses with your senses is a whole nother. That's another problem.
Well,
I
you
think I
don't
can
have to
answer this.
you don't have to justify presuppositions with anything. That's why they're presuppositions, praise. You should know
No, I
this. You
think
don't
Well,
justify
no, it's begging the
presuppositions.
question
He's
though, Mark.
actually right on that praise. You have to
No,
come up with a good
it's
one.
not. Because begging the question essentially says,
Oh,
hey, this
he just
thing that I'm
disagreed with me.
saying,
Agree with
I'm
him.
providing, yeah, Jason, just a sec, I'm providing that is true. If you want to reject the presupposition that my senses are real, you can do that. That's not saying you have to accept that. You can if you want to. But the question comes, why are you engaging in talking to me if you don't think my senses are real?
No, I mean we're
hold on.
asking you to justify your senses, and you have nothing to justify your
It's a
senses with outside of
presupposition.
God.
It's a presupposition, and
Hold
and
on.
you can.
I really want to comment. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark,
Oh,
Sure.
because
Bobby.
I think the whole point is that at a certain point you would have to question your own cognitive faculties.
Just like me.
So I think that goes for everybody, that you would have to question your cognitive faculties if they are correct or not. So for example, if you were to hold up the hand in front of you and you have 5 fingers, that cognitive, you either have to say that the cognitive faculty derives and says that the hand is in front of you, or at the other sense, it can say that there is no hand in front of you, right? And I think that leans on being right or wrong on what presupposition you want to say, because if you can't even determine that the hand that is in front of you, then you have no presuppositions to determine that those facts actually exist.
Well,
And that would be, I guess, the short sense.
presuppositions are presupposed because they're not justified. They're almost like, sort of things that you put into place. They're axiomatic. They're not sort of, oh well, I've got to show this is true. This is we take to be true because it is self-evident. Now you can reject that because there isn't that guarantee. But I mean, do you want to argue that our senses aren't real, praise? Is that
No,
something you. Well, then what's the problem? Why would I have to justify something that we agree to?
no. I guess what I'm the problem. What I'm trying to bring forth is that it's what we call it's a posteriori rationalization. So we have a priori knowledge, and then we have a posteriori knowledge, and everything is after you sense it, after you gain sensory data, then it becomes true. But there's nothing there a priori that would justify that except the laws of logic. And we're saying that there's no way you could account for the laws of logic. It's in your worldview would negate that.
Do
So I'm
you
just saying,
agree
like,
that the laws of the logic are a thing? Like, do you agree that
yeah,
they? Yeah, well, then what's the problem? See, the problem is that you're making a claim of where these things come from. You're saying they are derived from God. Now, I'm making no claim about where they come from. And this is sort of what Grayson's trying to point out, that he's saying, hey, we presuppose these things because we get direct input from our senses. And so we must presuppose that they are true because it's the only reality we can work in. You're saying, hey, it comes from a God. Grayson isn't saying where it comes from, and that's why the burden of proof. Because if you want to presuppose they come from a God, that's great, that's fine, you can do that. But I reject that presupposition, meaning that you have no foundation for it either.
well,
Yeah,
no,
but I think the issue here is that if you reject that, if you reject God as a presupposition, then you would still have to explain your foundation for your priority of what came up for
No, I
those
don't, because
theories.
I'm not
No,
making a
no, no.
claim of where it comes from. I can say, hey, I
And
don't
that
know the origin of the senses.
that would be a problem because now you're playing the card of being agnostic.
No, that's not agnostic. I have justified reasons for not
But
believing in a God, but you're basically saying
none.
that my belief. No, pseudonym. Let me finish. You're basically saying that my belief there is no God must be a knowledge claim there is no God, and those are two totally different things.
No, but you can take your presupposition, right? Is that you take God out of the equation.
No, I don't take God
How,
out of the equation. I just don't
well, then God would
make
be
a
the
claim.
ultimate foundation because if you
right.
can't take
Prove it.
God out of it,
Prove it.
Well, yeah, it's using
if you
contingency.
can't
See,
take God
this is
out
the
of,
dodge that
hold
you
on,
guys do.
hold on. No, because I don't even side in either way. I'm asking you general questions. If you can't disregard God, if you can't disregard God as a presupposition and you just admitted that you can't take God out of the equation, so as long as God fits in the equation, you have no foundation because God has to fit in why you reject your own foundation and it's not founded. So you just go on a posteriori. You totally skip the priority foundation of not even ontology, but the epistemology of why you have a foundation for agreeing with someone like Grayson.
No, you're shifting the burden of proof because you're the one that's claiming there's a God. So God isn't in the equation yet. You need to
No,
demonstrate or at least
You admit it.
justify that there is a God before you actually put
No,
the God
no,
in there. You are
because
making the claim that the origin of all senses and all rationality is a God. I am not making a claim of any
but
origin. I make
you
no
just said
claim, no
you j-
pseudonym, let me finish. I am making no claim whatsoever. You have the burden of proof. You need to demonstrate that your claim is true, which in this video, Sam never did. He just said that is where it comes from. That is
Well, I mean,
not any kind of justification of your burden. You have failed to meet it, and I don't need to demonstrate the
well,
negative
Mark, you've
claim.
already showed a distinction between our worldview and yours. You said your senses is your presupposition. We're not using our senses. We're using the laws of logic. So I
How
mean,
are you using the
we're
laws of
way
logic?
superior to your position. We're way more robust than your position because even you admitted senses are not. I mean, they're reliable, but they're not like some type of continual
no,
truth
I
Uh,
even disagree
like
with
the laws
that.
of logic.
I
how are you
disagree
using
with
the laws of
praise.
logic to justify your
Hold
senses?
on, no. I really want to cut just the steel bar or the bar of steel, whatever they call it, or
I don't
the
understand what you're talking about.
steel
What's a
man.
steel bar? Oh, steel man. Okay.
I want to steel man both your arguments here because Mark already admitted that you have to have God in the equation to neglect
What? No, I didn't.
the
What are you talking about? I never said you had to have God in the equation. What are you talking about?
Then how do you explain the foundation?
I don't.
You that's what I mean. You're more agnostic. You just
I
say
You
don't
don't
I
have
have,
to.
don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. You don't have a
No,
foundation. We
no,
do.
I do believe there is no God, but you're sort of saying, "Hey, I'm
There
claiming
you
to
go.
know that a God does like isn't the foundation of everything," and
But
that
God,
isn't true.
it is true because you just said that you would have to
Yeah,
explain
I
no
believe there is no
God, but
God.
you would have to have a
Hmm.
presupposition of what a God is to say that's not a literal fact,
Well,
right?
it's just
You,
that, like, I'm not making any claim on the origin of rationality. My
but
basis of believing, hang on a second, hang on, let me finish.
yeah,
The basis
I'm
of
fine.
believing there is no God is based upon the things that I see in reality. Like, there is no evidence of a mind without a brain. Now, that's a provisional belief based upon not being presented with any evidence of a God, but it's only a provisional belief. If you can present evidence that God is in fact the origin of all rationality and all of our senses, then I would believe in a God. But that hasn't happened.
Well, I
That's what
mean,
I'm saying. I can still man
yeah,
the argument and say that I can be an atheist like you, and I can
it's easily
agree
overturned.
that there is
Yeah,
no
Mark.
foundation for
How's
what
that?
we're
How's it
talking
overturned?
about
Mark,
because
you
we both
using
agree.
logic?
How's it overturned?
Mark, you. I'll let you finish then. Sorry.
Well, you said it was easily
Because you
overturned. I'm just
Yeah, it's
waiting in
easily
stunned
overturned to show you
silence.
that, like, see, the laws of logic are necessary because even to disqualify or to falsify the laws of logic, you need to use them. It's the impossibility of the contrary. It's reductio ad absurdum. So they're necessary. The fact that they're necessary overturns your worldview. There's nothing that's necessary in your worldview, and
That's
there
wrong.
can be
No.
nothing.
No,
Mark, you're
that's not
trying to eat your
right.
cake and
You
have
could
it
say
too.
that
You're
that
like
the universe,
incoherent.
hang on, Bubbles, you could say that the universe is necessary as well if you believe, like as Sean Carroll does, the physicist, that the
No, they
universe is
can't.
actually eternal. Then that is a necessary
That's
state of
no, it's
being.
not.
No, it
It's an
is. It is. It's
observable
a
hold
fact.
on, no,
necessary
It's
no,
not
no,
state
no,
of
eternal.
being.
no.
So
You
that
don't
does
Not
understand.
show
hold.
that there is own, like,
It's
you
not
can't have,
necessary.
you cannot have a
It's
worldview
not.
with just contingencies.
It's
That's
not.
ridiculous.
It's not necessary because now you're going against the consensus.
It is
The
fine to
hold
believe in
hold
something
on, Mark.
necessary
Let
as
me
an
finish,
atheist
Mark.
as
Let me
long
finish,
as it is
All
not
I
a
Mark. Let me
know is
god.
finish,
I'd not like to
Mark.
punch
Let me finish.
Blaze's big rough nut after seeing it. I'd probably break every bone in my hand.
Mark. Let me finish because the
Agree.
consensus says that the universe had a beginning, right? So
Um,
now you're using one man's expertise
I
to
don't.
say that that's wrong. Hold on, let me finish. Now
Okay.
you're using one man's expertise to go against that, and now you made a new presupposition that the universe is infinite, and that is one thing that Christians or theists believe. So now you're agreeing with them because
Okay.
you agree with
Prove
John
that it's not
Carroll
smart
and
No,
his
I
ass.
don't.
science.
So not there is no
No.
consensus that the universe had a
You're not
beginning.
gonna.
The
You're
no, no, no.
there's no
It's,
way
hey,
you're
let
gonna
me
get. You're
speak.
there's no
Let
way.
me speak.
Hold
What, I
on.
can't speak now
You're
because
Let him
come
finish,
on,
hold
I
Mark.
on
got to
because you're
address
not.
that.
Hold on. I want you to address it, but I just want to know specifically how you're gonna get away from it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do you mean? I was just about to explain that pseudonym. Like, geez, man, you interrupt to
No.
stop me explaining the thing that you want me to explain. It's insane. So the universe having a
Right.
beginning, we don't know if the universe had a beginning or not. That's not consensus. The consensus is Big Bang, which is 1 Planck second after where we presume the beginning would be if there was one. It doesn't actually cover what
That's
caused the
right.
universe.
It
It
should have
doesn't
been
actually
the
cover. Thanks,
universe
Jason.
collapsed
Cheers, mate.
in on
Thank
itself,
you,
right?
Jason. No, no, don't just start talking over the top of me. So there is no consensus about the beginning of the universe, only Big Bang Theory, which covers the rapid expansion of the universe. So there is no consensus over that. There have been multiple hypotheses put forward, and one of them is Sean Carroll's. So you could believe that a quantum field is a necessary precondition. You could believe that Jason, hello, jeez, man, stop. You could shut up, Jason, stop, Jason, hello, are you listening? Stop.
You need a theory of quantum gravity, mate.
Oh, you could believe that extra dimensional aliens are a necessary precondition. You could believe tons of things are necessary preconditions as long as it's not a god. You're an atheist. Nobody ever said that atheists can't believe in necessary preconditions. That's wrong.
So why did praise?
100%
Why did praise ask you that you don't believe in necessary things and you agree with it, and now you're coming up with necessary things?
I never agreed with what. When did I agree to not believing in necessary things? When did I agree to that?
See,
I didn't, did I?
Explain.
Jeez, way to straw man somebody, pseudonym. I don't know what you hear when you hear me talk. It's insane.
And I'm going to push back on that really quick too. So nothing natural can be necessary, and the reason is
how do you know?
Because we can. Well, it's because it's a composite reality. It's composed of certain things. Anything that is necessary must be. It has to be simple. It has to be ultimately simplistic. It cannot be composed. It cannot be. It cannot have a composition to it.
Have you examined everything in the universe and everything in nature?
Wow, Mark, do you not comprehend what the priest just said? Do you not get it? Do you seriously not get it?
No, I know they claim that everything in the universe is composite. I'm wondering how he justifies that not having. Yeah, Bubbles. No, Bubbles. Don't just interrupt halfway through. No, Bubbles. Hello. So he hasn't examined the lower levels of quarks. We still barely understand all the things about quantum mechanics, and people and physicists do say that quantum fields may be a fundamental level. No, I am get it. You're trying to appeal to the many and the one problem, which you have that problem too.
I do want to help you out here. So, if you can envision a reality with quarks or not quarks, then it's not necessary. The only thing that is necessary is omni-traits. You cannot envision a world where omnipotence is not necessary. We can envision a world where quarks don't exist. We can envision a world where atoms don't exist. So those are not necessary. So this is like logical necessity. We're not talking about physical necessity. We're talking about logical necessity.
So no, we can't imagine a universe where quarks do not exist. That's the whole point. They're the base level of the universe. So a quantum field is sort of where we've gotten down to in as far as describing the universe. So the whole idea that we would have a universe if there wasn't a quantum field, I'd like to know how you justify that, how you know that.
Hold on.
Hey, Mark Reid.
Can I ask? Hold on.
Science has never defined a field. Can you define a field?
Hold on.
I
want to steel man the argument though. After Bubbles, I'm sorry.
No, Bubbles is just being annoying. He's just being his usual trolly self.
Mark Reid, you're just upset you owe me $1 million. That's
yeah, and you owe me $1 million, Bubbles. Nobody this is the whole we didn't domesticate a wolf species. It's the most stupidest. Even the creationists think you're stupid for using this argument, Bubbles. I mean, seriously.
Oh, I've got some good stuff on dogs. I'll give you a doc on that.
I don't know why somebody would think that.
For me? What is it? What is the field, Mark?
Okay, so a quantum field is it's very hard to.
Is it a solid?
What? No. What are you talking about? Look, Bubbles, don't interrupt me, man. You're just being a troll as usual. As usual. So it is a field of quantum potentiality filled with quantum particles at a fundamental level popping in and out of existence.
Particles. Mark, the field is not made of particles.
Go away, Bubbles. Just go away,
It's
mate.
not made
Like
out of
you're
part.
here
You're
to
just
troll.
fundamentally wrong.
What is that?
Yeah, and you're
I think-
fundamentally wrong about a
what's
ton
that
of stuff,
guy's
Bubbles.
name?
You're an idiot that thinks
What's
that
that
because
guy's name?
dogs
Wait a
and
minute.
wolves
One of
can
your
breed,
mad,
then
Mark.
they're not
Stay
related
mad.
to one another.
Wait a minute. Wait. One of
He's just a
your
troll.
guys, he said, what's his name? He said that no one has a workable
Okay.
theory of quantum gravity. Until someone has a workable theory of quantum gravity, they don't have a big bang. Do you understand? Krauss said that. No one. There's plenty of theories on quantum gravity, but there's not a workable one coming from Krauss's own mouth. And unless you have a workable theory of quantum gravity, you can't have a big bang.
Yeah, I'm
From
not,
Krauss
Jason.
himself.
I don't. I think that they do have workable theories of quantum gravity, mate. I mean, there's
No,
problems
they
with
don't.
it, but they
Give us the
do.
list. I've got the link.
Yeah, as
where
much
I
as I
can show
really
you
want to
Krauss
trust your
saying that with his own
expertise
mouth.
in particle physics, I think I would probably.
Krauss is saying it with his own mouth. I can literally let you watch that. Krauss say it. No one has a workable theory of quantum gravity. There's plenty of theories out there, but no one from his own mouth.
So when I was being accused of like appealing to one physicist in
So
Sean
anywho,
Carroll,
I kind of
Jason's
want to
doing
bring it back.
exactly the same, and that's fine apparently. So
I want to bring it back to, I guess, the point of the senses. So, for example, if Mark is going to Google things about quantum realities or quantum physics, I want to know how he physically has experienced it rather than defining the definition of what quantum physics actually means.
what do you mean? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean.
Because you say you talked about the senses and experiencing things.
Sure.
Okay. So if your cognitive faculties are correct, can you tell me how you experience quantum?
That's not my point. My point was that you can believe
No,
in
I just
no,
asked you a question.
pseudonym. Don't just talk over
I
the
didn't-
top of me. What is wrong with you?
Because I asked you a question
Wow,
and you're
dude.
not answering.
No,
You're
it's
not
that I was
answering
using it as an example of things you could believe are necessary.
my question
that you
as
would
an
still
example.
be an atheist. I could believe that a pink unicorn is necessary.
Oh, Lord.
I'd still be
you
an
can't
atheist.
Use my question
pseudonym.
as an example. You have to add. You have to take my question.
No, you're just trying to make
as-
it so you're going to quiz me on quantum mechanics, which isn't my field. But I could believe.
Then don't
that...
monologue. Don't monologue on it. Just say you
well,
don't
stop
know quantum
interrupting me.
mechanics.
How about that, pseudonym? Stop interrupting me. I thought you were supposed to be charitable. Not very charitable of you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
not.
sorry.
You're absolutely just jumping in over the top of me.
I'm trying to stop right now. I just. Okay.
You're
I'm
not
sorry.
trying
Go
to
ahead.
stop.
Go ahead.
You're just jumping in on the top of me. So you could believe in
I
any...
want you to accept my apology.
See,
and then
this is
move on
the
to
thing.
Bubbles.
Yeah, nice one, pseudonym. Yeah, good one. You just stop. Like seriously, you could believe in anything. So you just did it again. What's wrong with you? Like seriously, is there some defect in your head that just says, "Hey, I got to jump in and overtalk people whenever they talk"? So stop.
I don't want
okay,
you to
stop.
attack, I don't
Pseudonym.
Want you to
Stop. So my point was, and what I was trying to point out is, in order for something to be necessary, you could believe anything at all is necessary. And quantum field was just one example of something you could believe is necessary. Like,
right. God
yeah,
God
so this is pseudo. So I'm just going to talk over the top of pseudonym because he's not showing me the respect that I'm showing him.
Come
so
on, pseudo.
Let's go. So one of the things that you could believe in is quantum gravity, or quantum physics, or quantum fields. It doesn't matter what it is. That wasn't the point I was trying to make. It's just that you can believe in necessary things as an atheist that are not contingent and still be an atheist. You're sort of trying to straw man the atheist position to sort of say you have to believe there's nothing necessary at all. And then what you're going to do is pigeonhole somebody into an infinite regress, because if everything is contingent, then that is an infinite regress. That is not true. You're straw manning. That's all you're doing.
Well, let me explain it this
Why
way,
does
Mark.
praise do this?
Hold on. Let me say something real quick, Shadow. So if something is potential, then it cannot be necessary. So anything that is natural is potential. Like quarks are just pure potentiality. Anything that is not potential, again, is omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. Those things are not potential; they are absolute. So you would need to show something that is metaphysically absolute. So you're not even talking about logical necessity, Mark. Two, you're talking about physical necessity, natural necessity. I mean, I would even grant that. But we're talking about metaphysics now. We're outside. We're going down to contingency now. Like, what is ontologically dependent on something else, upon something else, upon something else? It would end up in an infinite regress in a naturalistic system. That's why it cannot be natural, is because it would be pure potentiality, or an infinite regress. So that's where we're going with it. So I think you're conflating again, something that's like necessary naturally, and then something that's logically necessary. So there's a difference there. Hopefully,
But see, now I'm gonna steal man praise, because I would agree with Mark, because now praise, you're saying that there are infinite regresses to back up the possibility that there are no infinite regresses, right?
I mean, well, even Josh Rasmussen came in and said we can even argue from a theistic point of view, even infinite regresses. But
No, he's agnostic. You can't say
who
from a
who
theistic
Josh
viewpoint.
Rasmussen?
Yeah,
Here,
he
No,
believes he
what?
believes in infinite regresses. The thing is that he would disagree with you that there are no infinite regresses, and you
Um,
have no choice to go along and agree that there are no
no, he
infinite
doesn't.
regresses.
Rasmussen does not believe in infinite regresses. He says you can believe in it
I
and still
just
be a
said
theist.
that. I just said that there are
It,
no infinite regresses.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
I
mean,
see.
when you're saying like logically necessary, there's like you're talking about necessary preconditions is what you're talking about. But now you've tried to change it to logically necessarily, like sort of as opposed to possibly, like necessarily as opposed to possibly, which isn't what you were talking about before, which was necessary conditions. Like God is a necessary condition for everything, basically, is sort of what you say. So the idea that you'll switch it to necessary versus, sort of possibly is really weird praise. I don't get why you suddenly
It,
shifted
it's
into this
it's
mode
not
of
weird
logic
because
thing.
he was
Because
asking.
yeah, pseudonym, because that isn't a
Hold on, you
necessary
were about
precondition.
to.
Something being logically necessary as opposed to possible isn't a necessary precondition.
Okay, then can you explain something that I think praise asked this, but I'm going to take the affirmative. Can
Uh-huh.
you explain something that's not necessary?
Yeah, sure. My birth is a contingency. It's a contingent condition.
Yeah, and
I
also
mean,
when I mean
I
logic,
could almost
yeah.
pick anything in the universe and it'd be contingent, right? There's always sort of something causing, stuff. But the weird thing you said is everything's potential
Right.
praise. And so for everything's potential, do you think you're potential? Do you think that the
But that's
universe
the
is that
difference.
potential? Do you think that physical
Absolutely,
objects are potential? And if
absolutely.
they're
here's a
not,
Hold
if
on.
they're potential and not actually real, then what are they potential for?
But I want to answer that
The
question
mind of
because,
God.
right, I want to answer that
Potential for
question
the mind
because,
of God. Can you actually
They're
back
in the
that
mind
up
of
with
God.
some sort of demonstration that that's the case?
Well, I mean,
hold on.
basically the argument itself. Yeah,
Praise,
but I
can I
keep on
answer
getting
that
The
for you?
interrupted by
argument?
pseudo.
I think the answer would be something like free will, because if everything that Marx says is presupposition or presupposition, then it would be predetermined. And I think praise is trying to say that there is such a
What?
thing as free will.
What?
No,
Why
what I'm
would
arguing
why
is
would presupposition be predetermined? What is that?
Why not? Why not?
Well, because when you presuppose something, you grant it as true ahead of time. Predetermined means that there is only a predetermined causal outcome. Like, what are
But
you
you
talking
admitted that
about?
there was no foundation to that. So if there's no foundation to your you
Oh,
being
dude, you're talking out of your
predetermined,
ass. Like, seriously, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, if you're
Yeah,
saying that
pseudo. Yeah.
pre presupposition, like if I presuppose, like before even meeting you or seeing you,
That's
that you
free
have
will,
blonde
mate.
hair. Hey, just
there
stop.
you go.
If I presuppose you have blonde hair, it doesn't mean it is predetermined for you to have blonde hair. Do you understand the
What are
difference?
you talking about? God saw all things at the beginning of the creation.
Can
Yeah,
He
you
didn't
demonstrate
say
that? Can
someone
you
had blonde hair and
demonstrate that
someone didn't.
claim? Can you
That's
demonstrate that
incoherent,
claim?
Jason.
I apologize.
It just
Hold on.
says at the
I
Jason,
beginning of the
apologize,
creation,
Mark.
God saw all things.
Jason's
And,
Jason, that's
and, and
talking,
incoherent.
but
it
I
does
do
That's
not
apologize.
take
incompatible.
away free will.
Yes,
Just
it
I
does,
because
apo-
God
Jason.
saw what you would
Hold
do with
on.
that free will
Right.
does not take
Hold on,
away your
Bubble.
free will. It's
Yes, it
what
does,
people don't
Jason.
seem to
Hold on,
understand.
Bubbles. Hold on, Jason, because I actually like Mark, and I think praise
But Mark
has
don't
something to
like you.
say.
I'm just kidding.
So
Not at the
I'll take.
moment. I don't
Honestly,
like being interrupted.
I'll
Yeah.
take a 20-minute break, but everyone
Yeah,
gets
take a
interrupted at
break.
some
Take a
time. Mark,
breath. Take a breath.
Is
yeah.
that right? Is that right?
So again, so Mark, I think I'm trying to explain it. So it's propositional. So we would say logical necessity is evaluated through propositions. Like A is not B and B is not A, therefore they are not related. Something along those lines. So if there's a logical necessity, it has to be propositional. So anything that's propositional is you can't equate that to anything that's physical or natural. Like that's
Well,
it's
no. I mean, modal logic. That's deductively true. Like, so it is necessary the case, right? So if all cats are named
right.
Socrates, then you have a cat. It is necessarily the case because of that deductive argument that that cat is called Socrates. That isn't necessarily the case. Instead of possibly the case that that cat is named Socrates. So if not all cats are called Socrates, but some are, then it is possibly the case that that cat is called Socrates, right? It is not
My
necessarily
cat's
the
called
case.
Socrates, the
Well,
dirty
Well,
dung hunter.
that forms modal logic where you have like the calculation of how you are working this out. So when you say God is necessary, then it is only in virtue of something else you have presented as a premises. Like sort of, so
Socrates loved
if you
butts.
say God is an omni being, then the God that you're describing is necessarily an omni being, because if he wasn't God, right? But that doesn't
right.
get to whether God is like a necessary precondition for anything. That doesn't
Socrates was a
explain
clever
that.
butt lover.
That's
Yes, it
just
does.
sort of, sort of talking about modal logic in a way that you're sort of, for some reason you've shifted, because I understood what you meant, praise, that God's a necessary precondition. I understand that, right? I understand
Right.
your point. But why shift to modal logic where you're saying necessary as opposed to possibly?
Because
Because
one of the premises of moral logic is that you have to accept necessity. I'm sorry. Go ahead, praise.
yeah, so now like if we can conceive of something being replaced, then it can't be necessary. Like a quark, like a quantum fields, we can replace or it could be substituted or exchanged for something else. And that itself lends credibility that it cannot be necessary. The only thing that is not potential is the fact that the omni properties, they cannot be replaced by anything. They can't they are absolute in every possible world, so there's no potentiality there. So
Well,
I mean, you're going to have to show something that is robust as the omni properties of God for any type of ontological dependence.
Well, no, you have to demonstrate that omni properties actually exist. You've got to have some kind of justification for that claim. And I mean,
That's what we're showing. Yeah.
well, if you can't replace something, I mean, if the quantum field is replaced, the universe isn't here as far as we know. So, that is something that can't be replaced. Like, it depends on what you're talking about here.
Or substituted, or if they can be exchanged or yeah.
Right. And it really is a shift burden.
A what?
Because
What?
it's a shift burden.
No, you're shifting the burden of proof, not
because
me.
Mark would have to give the same evidence for his claim.
What claim? What am I claiming?
You're saying that Praise's idea has to show evidence for either the necessity of things, and you would have to do the same thing to neglect that. Because you're giving.
I didn't say evidence.
You're giving him the burden of proof, right?
No, he has the burden of proof because he's making the claim. He sort of said,
"That's what I
God."
Just said.
Well, that's not me giving it to him. I mean, I don't know what you sort of understand of how the burden of proof works. You kind of give it to yourself when you make claims.
You're doing it right now.
In particular.
Yeah, but
You're doing it right now, right?
Well, I thought we agreed on rationality. That's sort of rationality and logic.
Is that a claim?
There you go.
What do you mean? That rationality? I thought we agreed that rationality and logic existed. I don't understand. Are we going back on that? Should we revisit that?
No, you don't agree upon it.
I don't agree upon what?
Presupposing it. You're presupposing it.
Right, I'm presupposing it, yeah.
There you go.
Justify it.
Game over.
Yes.
You don't justify presuppositions. This is the really ridiculous thing you guys are going through, that when you presuppose something, you're basically saying that I can't justify rationality because I would need to use rationality to do so. And that's an obvious problem, right? You've got a circular argument there. So the problem comes that how do you justify rationality with rationality? So really, we don't have to. It's just if you agree with rationality and you justify it, you basically justify my use of it, then we can come to an agreement on what rationality is. But if you guys want to reject it, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. No, wait. That's absolutely fine. But you're kind of justifying it by using it to talk to me, right?
Yes, because I'm presupposing the ultimate God. Because I'm presupposing God.
So I reject that presupposition.
Here's the thing. So then you have no justification. So it's just willy-nilly.
I reject
all these words I'm saying. Well, all these words I'm saying to you are just willy-nilly. But somehow you're able to logic around it.
Because I'm not rejecting the idea of logic and rationality, right? I'm not rejecting that. I'm rejecting your claim of where it comes from. So you need to demonstrate that it does come from where you're claiming it does.
I can demonstrate mine. You can't. I can get you there.
Go for it.
No problem.
Go for it.
What? But I like to use. I can do it.
Go for it.
But I like to see you do it first.
No, go for it. You said you could. You said it'd be easy. You said it'd be straightforward. Go for it. Do it. Okay, well then do it. Do it.
Can you do it?
Do it.
Mark.
Yeah, no. So this is the kind of song and dance we get. Oh yeah, I can easily. I can demonstrate it in two. I can do it. Oh, but I don't want to.
Oh, I can. No worries. But I want.
Okay, go for it. Do it. We're all waiting in anticipation for Bubbles to demonstrate to me that logic and rationality comes from a god. Go.
No, I agree with Bubbles because Mark, you can't or you won't. And
what do you mean? I've already said that mine is based upon a presupposition. I've already said that.
That's perfect. That's fine.
Yeah.
So how do you have a presupposition?
How do I have a presupposition? Are you serious?
Yeah. What is that based on? What's your foundation for having a presupposition?
Yeah, so the presupposition is that logic and rationality is based upon is that it works. It is internally consistent and seems to produce good results that are dependable. And now if
By
you want to say,
seeming,
hey,
or
how
by
can you
seeming.
justify that? It's like, well, you have to use logic and rationality to do that. There's no way
This is the
around it.
this is the T jump
Yeah,
answer.
now you're circular. Now you're stuck in a circular
That's
Logic
why
is
argument.
it's a
prescriptive.
that's
That's
why it's a presupposition. Like, you guys don't seem to understand what a presupposition is. You don't seem to grasp the concept
You
at all.
have a
I,
circular argument.
you think it's
Mark.
okay to be
that's the
circular.
whole reason for the presupposition. Like, you guys are just going, oh well, a presupposition has to be justified. If I could justify it, it wouldn't be a presupposition. Like, you really need to read what presuppositions are. Like, go to Stanford or something. Read up
You're
on
an
what
No,
they
idiot.
actually
You're
are.
a circular argument.
you think what other people do is wrong. That's your problem.
No, it's just like, if you presuppose something, if you go, okay, pseudonym has blonde hair, you're basically presupposing it. You can
Mark,
say,
a
oh,
circular
what are you
argument is
basing
valid.
that on? Hang on,
What happened
what are
to
you?
your
Well, hang on,
senses?
hang on. What are you basing
happened to
that
the
on?
senses?
And if you knew that pseudonym had blonde hair, you wouldn't have to presuppose that he has blonde hair. You would just know that. So that it is the most dumbass thing to go, oh well, what justify? If I had the reason why, then I wouldn't be presupposing it.
So your
Mark,
senses are out of whack because I know you're bald because you show your face
I
on the
am
screen.
bald, yeah. At
There you
least
go.
I can show my
How
face,
would I know that? Maybe I'm bald. Where's your
Maybe.
presupposition on that?
Sure,
Mark,
and
this is a
that's
dumb
because if
T-jump
you
argument.
reject my
T-jump.
presupposition, then that's fine, you can. And that's why I reject the presupposition of God, because it's like, well, why? Why do we need God? There's
you
no
have a better
justification for it.
Because God is bald.
Well, that's I would imagine a God that could do anything could be any way he wants, but sure, God's bald. Okay,
Balderdash.
you heard
Okay,
it here first.
At least Mark admits that his argument for atheism is circular, and his seemings justify his seemings. This is just a dumb T-jump argument. Now
That's not
now,
a justification for atheism. It's it's based upon you're talking foundations at the moment, not the reasons, sort of the higher level
your
reasons
foundation.
for why we believe it. Yeah, sure. Everybody's is. How do you know your senses are true, Bubbles?
Oh, I can get you to God. That's no problem.
Yeah. How do you know your senses are true, Bubbles?
Hey,
that's the
are you using-
atheistic argument, though.
Well, I mean, how do you know your senses are true, Bubbles? If you don't want to go down this road, but you're saying that my
Mark,
argument's
for me-
circular,
hold
but
on,
yours
hold
isn't.
on.
So let's hear
Mark-
it. How do you know your senses are true, Bubbles?
Mark, are you holding a coffee cup or a container?
What do you mean?
Oh,
I mean, it's a coffee cup. That's what I call it. It could be
Is it a
classified
container?
under the set of coffee cups and containers. That's not a mutually exclusive set.
Mark, did you use logic when you were using that argument against me?
Oh, sorry. I thought
using
you
log-
were
No, it's just a
going
simple
to tell me
question.
how you know
Were you
your
using-
senses are true.
We'll get you there. Were you using logic when
For
you
what?
asked your question? When you asked your question, anything. Were
Sure.
you using logic?
Yeah, absolutely.
What does logic presuppose?
Nothing. I presuppose logic. That's
No,
where you've gone
what
wrong
does
there.
logic presuppose? Logic presupposes something. Do you know what that is?
It presupposes
in
that
specific?
logic is reliable and gets us to where we need to observe.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
what
you
we
don't
need to
know
see.
you don't know what fundamentally logic presupposes. Logic presupposes order. Do you
What?
understand? Logic
No.
presupposes order. So you don't understand.
Well, no, I just don't think it presupposes order.
Okay,
I don't
here,
think so.
let me break it down to you. When you're playing
Mm-hmm.
chess, Mark, and you make a move on the chessboard, what are you presupposing when you make that move on the chessboard?
The rules of chess.
Congratulations, that's order. That's the order
Okay.
of chess. Now, when you're using logic in our world, you're presupposing the order of our world.
Are you?
Do you get it?
No, it's just
Yes,
the sort of
'cause- yes,
language
'cause I'm
to
using logic.
describe. It's just
You
sort of
just-
the language
Mark,
to describe.
You get it. Okay, Mark,
ways.
you get it. You admit it presupposes order. Now, where does this order come from? Does it come from matter or does it come from a mind?
No, I think it comes from sort of the sort of physical laws of the universe is where I think it comes from.
The laws or the order or the product of the order.
yeah, no, that's a deep question because now we're talking about emergent properties. right? And that's a
Mark,
two-fro.
Well, I'm still waiting on this amazing proof
Mark,
that
it's a
you've
simple
got.
question. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's just one question away. Does order come from a mind, or does it come from matter?
It can come from both.
No, Mark. It cannot come from both.
Yes, it can. Because we have chaos theory where you have repeated patterns, just random
Guess,
patterns of chaos
Mark,
that
you're
creates
just saying the name of
order
my God.
through
Why are you saying the name
sort
of my
of
God, Mark?
when
Mark, that's the
okay,
name of my
so
God.
demonstrate that chaos theory is your God.
No, the name of my
No,
God.
you're not
the name
going
of my
to.
God
Okay,
is
well the
chaos.
conversation's over then. Then
I
you
just
failed to
did,
demonstrate
Mark.
it. No, you
I just
didn't,
demonstrated
Bubbles.
to you
No,
God.
you did. Look, this guy is the
I
biggest
just
troll.
did.
You didn't, Bubbles. All you did is claimed
Mark,
that
we
order
got that.
comes
You
from a
said
god.
the name of
Can
my
you
God.
demonstrate that order comes from a god? Go.
Hold on,
Do
because
it.
you both believe, you both are saying the same thing. You're both saying that order can come from chaos, right?
Yeah, and I think
Well,
that
no,
chaos is
not
just
exactly.
a
Here,
sort of
order.
natural
Right.
product of the universe. It's just what
Right.
No,
happens
it's
in the
not.
universe
It
under
is
the
the
effects of the laws of physics. There's nothing
Yeah.
that's
magical about it. There's
incoherent, Mark.
nothing, you know, there's no
Chaos
magical
isn't
things
within
working
the
here.
universe.
Hold on,
That's
no, because
incoherent.
hold on, no, it's not incoherent because Mark is explaining exactly what Bubbles wants to. He has a presupposition about it. He's saying it's a two-fro argument because Mark is saying that from chaos there is order, and I think I know Bubbles comes from the presupposition that chaos is order.
No, it's the chaos is the ultimate God, but not that chaos is order. You can create order within chaos, but it is not order itself.
Chaos is the
Now you
ultimate
agree
god.
now you agree with Mark. See?
Wow.
No,
Chaos is the ultimate god. Does this ultimate god chaos have a mind?
chaos is the mind.
It is a mind. Okay, can you demonstrate that it's a mind?
The mind is. We just did, Mark.
No, you didn't.
Mark, again, where does order come from? Does it come
No,
from matter?
you
Or does it come from a
demonstrated
mind?
that chaotic systems can produce order. That's it.
No.
That's all you demonstrated. And we know
Yeah,
that
but
No,
already.
a mind can produce order.
Sure, a mind can produce order, but chaos can produce order as well. Demonstrate that
No,
chaos is a
the
mind.
mind
A
is chaos.
mind. A mind. Yeah, demonstrate it.
Mark, we
Where
just
is this
did.
mind? Show me this mind. Show me a product of this mind that we can tell is a
mind is
product of a mind.
non-physical.
A mind is
physical.
non-physical. Interesting.
What do you honestly think God
Can
is
you
some sort
show
of
me a
object?
mind without a brain? Show me that.
Dude, that's stupid.
No, it's not stupid. You're claiming that there is a mind without a brain. Show it to me.
Yes, I could.
Okay,
A
because
ghost would be a mind. Would be a
hold
disembodied
on.
mind, Mark. That's
This
what a
is
ghost
weird.
is.
Yeah,
this
I've
is the
never
weird
seen a
part.
disembodied mind. I've never
Well, I
heard of a
don't care that
disembodied
you.
mind.
I
It's
don't
just
care
not
that.
something that I would
Mark.
like entertain. It was
I
just
don't
it's an
care that you haven't
incoherent
seen a
concept.
ghost. I don't care that you haven't seen a ghost. That's not my problem.
Yeah, you can believe in ghosts and werewolves and vampires and all kinds of stuff, don't you, Bubbles?
It's almost like the supernatural is true.
Fairies as well. Didn't you
Oh,
believe
no.
in underwear gnomes or something once? Like you said, there were gnomes.
Somehow, no. Do you think gnomes are somehow more magical than God?
I don't think gnomes exist. That's the thing, Bubbles. Most people
So,
don't believe in
that wasn't my
gnomes.
question, Mark. That wasn't my question. I asked you, do you think
Do I
somehow
think gnomes, the thing that I don't believe in, is more magical than God that I don't believe in?
Yes, that was the question.
I think they're both as magical as one another, i.e., not magical.
Then there's no problem. If there's a God, then there's gnomes, okay?
If there's a God, you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. If there is a God, then there's gnomes.
They can
Well
be gnomes.
done.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the chain of thought leading from God to gnomes. I really would. Can you explain the chain of thought that got you
Mark,
to,
if
if a God
do you
exists,
think
then
gnomes are the
gnomes
limit?
exist? Can you show me that chain of thought, Bubbles?
Mark,
Please, lay that
if
out
God
for
is
me.
real- Mark, if God is real, do you think gnomes are the limit?
No. I'm not saying what's possible. I'm saying, how did you get to necessarily there being the case that if a God exists, then necessarily there must be gnomes?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you said.
No, I say just
If
because
a god exists, then gnomes exist. That is a necessary
yes,
case. Like, didn't you
that's
hear
not a
my
necessary.
example with
That
the
is
cat
not a
called
necessary.
Socrates? If all cats are called Socrates, then necessarily that cat has to be Socrates. So
No,
if you
Mark. I
say,
said if there's a god, there's nothing to stop God from making gnomes.
then there's possibly gnomes, is what you're saying.
Yes, but in your
Yes.
worldview, that wouldn't matter, right?
So you don't believe in gnomes. You think that just it's possible
Oh,
that
I
God
do. I
created
do.
gnomes.
I do.
You
But I
do.
do.
So you think there
You're
is
trying to make
gnomes.
this. No, you're the one here trying to make it out like it's gnomes or somehow more crazier than God.
No. I'm just saying, like, look,
That's what you're
because
trying
you've
to do.
said there are gnomes, and then you've said if there is a god, then there is gnomes. You do think there is
I
a
didn't
god,
say that,
so
Mark.
necessarily there would be gnomes. Bubbles, this is how like
I
modal
didn't
logic
say that,
works.
Mark. I didn't say that.
But you've said if there are
Mark, I
gnomes,
didn't say that.
yes, you did. That's what you've said. You've said
No,
if
Mark,
there's a
I said
god, then there's gnomes. You do believe there's a
I
god,
asked
so you
you
do
if
believe
gnomes.
there are gnomes. That is a necessity of what you have said. Like this isn't
Mark, I
like
didn't say
rocket
that.
science or anything, Bubbles. It's
I
just
asked you if gnomes were more
basic
magical than God.
logic.
I
Sorry,
asked you if gnomes were more magical than God. I didn't ask you if
I
gnomes were
don't
necessary
know
for
what
God.
your weird fairies are doing. I like. Are you talking about from my perspective or your
Mark, look,
perspective?
you're clearly just trying to freaking dodge, but I fucking told you.
Dodge what? You've
I
made
didn't
like
tell you.
Bubbles. You've made like 10 million claims and sat there going, "No, I can demonstrate this. I can
I made
demonstrate that.
one
I can
claim.
demonstrate the other." And you haven't demonstrated
I
anything.
did.
And now
Mark,
we're down this rabbit
yes,
hole
I
of
did. You said the
gnomes.
name of my God. We got you from logic
Chaos.
to order. Yes, that's the name
Chaos.
of my God.
Can you
Yes.
demonstrate that's a god? And your thing
We
is,
chose
well,
freaking
it's got
oh
a
my God.
mind.
Do you know the Greek mythology, quote unquote mythology?
Yes.
And who's the primary god in Greek mythology?
Yeah, Chaos was the original god.
Congratulations.
And then, so you believe in Greek mythology?
Yes. I'm a
So Zeus
polytheist.
throws thunderbolts, is what you think?
What do you think I mean when I say I'm a polytheist?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of polytheist Bubbles. I've never really paid that much attention to your theology because it's kind of wackadoodle, mate. So Zeus
And
is the
yet you
one
said the name of
throwing
my God. So why is it
thunderbolts.
that? Why is that, Mark?
Because chaos, like when we reference chaos in like physics kind of thing, we're not talking about the Greek
Because
primordial
you cannot.
deity that sort of has like everything sort of came out of. What we're
Because
talking
you
about
cannot
is
avoid
chaos
God.
theory, which is a description of how things act in under the laws of physics. That's what
No,
we're
it's
talking
because
about.
God is revelatory. You cannot
So
escape God. Oh, it
so
all comes back to God.
now you've got to the point where because somebody has said the English version of the name of your deity, because originally that was in ancient Greek, which was called chaos. It was a much harsher K sound and didn't have the H. Because someone has said the English version of that name, you think they're referencing, instead of chaos theory, which I've directly alluded to multiple times, you think that they're alluding to your God concept, which is part of the Greek pantheon, which includes Zeus throwing thunderbolts and Poseidon, the god of the sea.
Mark, just because you add the word theory at the end of that sentence doesn't mean you're not referencing
Yeah,
chaos.
that is one of the worst arguments I have ever heard in my entire life.
Mark,
That's right up there with sort
how
of
come we
ultimated judo-Christian who says that if you say God, you believe in
Mark,
God.
you
It's
admitted God.
ridiculous. Do you
Mark, you
think
admitted God.
Zeus
Mark,
throws
just
thunderbolts?
when did I say that, Mark?
Do you think Zeus throws thunderbolts?
No, when did I say that? No.
No. Then why not? Because that's part of the Greek pantheon.
Mark,
What?
do you even actually know the Greek pantheon?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's
Do
not this
you?
it's not this fucking comic book you guys try to make it out.
Do you?
He's just a hierarchical god. He's just the king of the gods. He's not going around.
Who's
actually just going
Eros,
fucking
Bubbles? Who's Eros?
Eros is god of, I think, god of war or god of god
Nope.
of
Try
love.
again.
God of love. God of love, I think.
Nice googling. Yeah. Yeah. So God of War. You
Dude,
don't
I
even know
have
your own pantheon. You don't even
no,
know it.
because Eros sounds like Eros. So I'm trying to remember which one it is.
Yeah. Well done.
Dude,
God of
it just took
War.
me a
Yeah.
second. It took me a second to figure out it was God of
Sure.
love.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, just because it took me a second. Seriously,
Yeah. It's because you don't know it.
I did. How come
You did. Yeah.
I just
Yeah. So
said
I
the
think
freaking name?
yeah. I think I'm done with bubbles. Yeah.
Oh,
Zeus
sure,
throws
Mark.
lightning bolts. Apparently. Who knew?
Oh, Mark.
Who
Then how come you
knew?
said the name of my God? And we got you
Hmm.
there.
I didn't. I said the name of a theory within physics.
Oh,
I
just because you
didn't.
added the word theory. Oh, let's see. Chaos theory.
No,
Take
no.
away the
It
word
is a
theory.
theory
Where does
in
that leave you with?
physics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just
Yeah,
leave you
so
with.
whether or not you agree with chaos theory is a thing. It is studied by physicists, and it has
What is chaos
in
theory?
no way references some ancient Greek god that Bubbles
Yeah.
is trying to say,
Tell us.
hey,
Tell us.
you
Tell us about
mentioned
chaos
my
theory.
deity, which has a completely different name in ancient Greek. You must be referring to my deity. No, Bubbles, get out of here. Like, seriously. It's the word. You are just embarrassing yourself at this point.
No, Mark. Do you actually know what chaos theory is about?
Yeah, it's the study of,
It's about.
apparently random patterns that actually form
It's not about.
order,
It's not about.
and sort of under the effect of entropy, we can have quite ordered patterns coming entirely from chaotic and arbitrariness.
No, those patterns come from natural law. Here's what you fucking idiots don't get. Those
Oh,
patterns are
just insulting people now. That's cool.
yes, because you
I
guys are
thought
fucking
you weren't
dumbasses.
supposed to swear on here, Bubbles. Like, are you just,
Oh, sorry,
just...
that's a Christian. I forget the Christians are here. I'm not supposed to work as Christian. Yeah, that's stupid.
You're not a Christian, obviously. Oh, sorry,
Obviously
you're a
not.
Zeus follower. Of course you're not. You believe in Zeus.
I believe in chaos. Now, those patterns aren't a result of chaos. Those are a result of the order within this universe, of this universe. And what chaos is, and what you guys actually define is even freaking Leo Phileas, the Tard, is a potentiality. For example, wood has the potential to be a chair, to be a table, but it does not have infinite potential. And if you keep going back and back, what has the infinite and most potential? What is that defining? That is a mind. That is chaos. That is a god.
Yeah, there's nothing chaos theory that says that there's a mind, and you haven't demonstrated there's a mind. You've simply
We just did,
it.
Mark. We just got
No,
there.
no, no. You just asserted that there was no demonstration of it. You just asserted it.
We demonstrated to you. What, Mark?
Yeah.
Do we have to go again through it again?
And
What does logic
it's
presuppose?
what's hilarious is basically Bubbles going that chaos theory isn't a thing. You can't just add theory on the end of it and then explain or try to explain to me what chaos theory is. It's obviously a thing if Bubbles wants to be able to define it. So well done, Bubbles, for proving my point.
Mark, we got to our God. We got to my God. We didn't get to the Christian God, but we got
We
to
didn't
God.
get anywhere. We got to an assertion that chaos has a mind, which you can't demonstrate.
Chaos. The mind is chaos.
The mind is chaos.
And we did prove it.
I believe your mind is chaos. I 100% believe that your mind is chaos. I think your mind is absolute chaos. I think it's got no ordered pattern to it in any way, shape, or form. But that's not the majority of people.
Where does order come from? Matter or mind?
Where does order come from? I think it can come from matter. It can come from mind.
It has never been demonstrated.
No, what's never been demonstrated is the natural laws of the universe having a mind behind it. That's never been demonstrated, Bubbles. Because you've told me time and time again, you're going to demonstrate it and then make just assertion after assertion about how it does have a mind. Like,
Mark,
can you demonstrate that the chaos has an actual mind to it?
The chaos, the mind is chaos.
That's an assertion. Can you demonstrate that the mind is chaos?
What do you think, Mark? What do you think is going on in your mind right now?
Demonstrate that. Like, do
Mark,
it.
what do you think is going on in your mind right now? What is happening in your mind?
Thoughts, ideas.
It's chaos.
What do you mean it's chaos?
No shit, Sherlock. Do you think do you think
What do
there's
you
order
mean
in your
it's
mind right
chaos?
now?
It's not chaos. What are you talking about?
What do you think is going on in your mind right now?
What do you mean? I have a number of thoughts and cognitive patterns that I follow. So there is a
Are they
number
order
of
or are they
different.
chaotic?
They're ordered. They're ordered. What are you talking about?
Oh my god, Mark. They are chaotic before they are ordered. You are ordering them.
I don't know what you mean. I really don't. Are you just thinking random arbitrary stuff like, oh, there's a bake sale on 2 weeks from now, and there's something in my yard, and just random
Mark,
stuff, or are you actually paying attention and systematically going through this?
Mark, are you playing stupid?
No,
Let's go.
because you're
Let's go
trying to
back.
claim that my thoughts are chaotic when my thoughts have been, okay, Bubbles is saying this. From what I know from logic and rationality, this needs to have a demonstration in order to believe it is true. If it does not have a demonstration, then I am justified in dismissing it because it is just an empty, hollow, worthless claim. I am not thinking about random stuff off here and random stuff off there. It's not chaotic. There's patterns.
There is no patterns.
All right, I think we've come to the cause of Bubbles, crazy religion here. I think we've got the cause.
Mark.
Yeah, most people think in patterns, Bubbles. It's not just chaos going on in their heads.
No, there is only patterns after order. And order is a result of a mind. Do you get that? There is no freaking matter providing us order. That has never been demonstrated experimentally.
Well, see, that would mean dualism would have to be true, and I don't think dualism is true. I think that the mind is an emergent property of the brain, and I think that sort of
well, that has never been
natural.
that has not been demonstrated because matter doesn't order.
So it has been demonstrated. I'll refer you to split brain patients. So if you're saying that the mind is sort of somehow independent of the brain, then how come people who have had their corpus callosum, split down their brain into two separate hemispheres, have two minds with two different opinions on stuff, two likes and preferences, two completely different, personalities and thoughts?
I can't.
I'm not. That sounds really subjective. What I mean by something matter.
I mean,
ordering.
I can provide you studies on it if you want. It's a very well known. Split brain patients are a very well known thing.
Has a rock ever turned itself into a car?
What?
Has a rock ever turned itself into a car?
Wow, way to shift the goalposts. That is the most random question.
What do you think by?
Yeah,
I mean by order.
I truly believe that your mind is chaos. If you went to, has a rock ever turned
what do you think
itself
I mean by order?
into a car?
What do you think is meant by order?
I presume from your question, some kind of product of the mind.
It can only be a product of the mind, but
yeah.
What do you
so
think?
This is called begging the question, because you're basically saying that the order has to be a product of the mind, and therefore the only order we've seen is a product of a mind. It's a circular argument because
order can only be
you're
a product of the
assuming
mind.
yes, and that's begging the question, right? Because you're basically denying that order can somehow come out of natural systems, like natural physical systems. And when I'm saying demonstrate that, you're saying, oh, we've only ever seen it come from a mind. You're begging the question, because you're basically going, those natural systems we see is a product of the mind, and therefore that justifies my claim that it only comes out of a mind. You're begging the question.
because
I
a
don't
quote
think
because a quote unquote natural system needs to presuppose order. There is no quote unquote
Yeah, it's a
natural
circular
system.
argument.
No, you're presupposing
Yeah,
order.
it is.
Mark,
It's a
you
circular
have no
argument.
competition. There is no competitor.
There is no competitor for what?
Yes, because matter doesn't create order. Matter is a
Matter
product of
doesn't
matter.
create order.
Mark,
So I can show
matter is
you
a
sort of
product of order. And if
metronomes
you
when
can't,
set
and if
up,
you
right? Metronomes when set up, that basically when you start them randomly, they will all sync up. It's called spontaneous synchronicity. Out of chaos, there comes order, and it's due to the natural laws of the universe. You want to say that those natural laws have a mind behind it. When I ask you how you know that has a mind, you go to, well, all things that have order, like the natural world, have a mind. And the reason why you're justifying that is because you're saying it requires a mind to have order. It's a circular argument, Bubbles.
Mark, let's talk about that metronome experiment.
Sure.
What's it called?
Spontaneous synchronicity.
Look up this metronome. Now, do you want to show people? Yeah, I'll show it for you guys. What
Sure.
Mark is talking about.
Sure.
Let's see. Share screen. Tabs. Okay, share. It's sharing.
I don't say anything.
Oh dang, Praise isn't here. Okay, I'm gonna need people to search this out.
No, Praise hasn't been here for quite some time.
Okay.
It's like some things are just too stupid to stay in here for.
All right, people in the audience, search up this spontaneous
synchronicity. Yeah. Yep.
And then look at these metronomes. It's 5 metronomes on top of a piece of plank, which is on top of 2 cans of soda. Now, Mark, how do you think they got there?
What do you mean?
How do you think those metronomes got on top of that piece of plank and on top of those 2 cans of soda?
Well,
did somebody order them?
No,
exactly,
no.
Mark.
We set them up.
Bingo.
No,
bingo.
we set them up to be chaotic. We intentionally made it chaotic. We intentionally started those metronomes at different points. So your point is null and valid because we didn't set it up to be ordered. We set it up with the intent to be chaotic.
Mark, it only works because of the setup.
It was set up to be chaotic. So how did order get produced?
I think
how did order get produced?
It's set up because they're metronomes, and metronomes have order. It has a tick-tock.
Well, it's a natural.
Yeah, but if you're talking about the frequency of the talk, like with metronomes, you can have them run at a different beat depending on how far you pull it back, and they can be started at different times. So the wavelength of the metronome, sort of how fast it's ticking, and the what's the adjustment called when it's like out of sync with one another? That can be randomized as well, and we set that all up to be with the intention of being completely arbitrary, completely random, and they all start out completely arbitrary, completely random. Nobody interferes, nobody puts order on it, but just due to the natural laws of the universe, those things start to sync up without any interference from any person.
Up because they have to come to a no point. They have to sync up.
Do they start randomly? Do they start randomly? Do they start randomly? Yes. Okay, yes.
Mark,
does anybody interfere? Does anybody interfere between them starting randomly and then syncing up? Does anybody interfere?
Mark, the interference comes at the start of the experiment.
How can it? They don't interfere at that point. It's completely random.
Yes, the interference comes when they set it up. Do you understand that?
No, because it is set up. It is set up. You just agreed it was set up to be random. right?
No, it was set up.
It was set up to be random, correct?
No, the net.
Well, then you don't
It
know
was
what you're talking about because they
no.
set it up
What's
to be
random?
random.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
What's
you just
Here,
don't
random?
I think
understand what you're talking
hold
about.
on. Let me. I think I want to just bring it down. Who made up the metronome?
Who made up the metronome? Who made up? I don't. Who invented? Are you saying?
Was it a human construct?
Well, yeah, but I mean, we see the same thing
Okay.
in
Okay.
natural systems,
Right.
like
No,
planets, for
but
instance. The
no,
way
but
that planets
I.
fall into gravitational
Right.
fields and synchronize up. We see this in nature all the
Right.
time.
But I know you want to go beyond the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this
But
is
the
just
whole
an
point is,
experiment to show something. It's like saying, oh, well,
but
because we mix these two chemicals, like when does that happen in nature? Yeah, it happens all the time. Just because we're
but I
doing
was
it in a
trying.
lab for this one doesn't mean that it's not a justifiable experiment.
But I'm trying to say that you would agree with Bubbles that humans made metronomes, right?
Sure, but they didn't make planets, and
Okay.
planets do the same
No,
thing.
no, but that's off topic.
It's off
But as
topic. It's
far as
spontaneous synchronicity. It's exactly the same principle, so it's not off topic in the slightest. This isn't something where we're just doing
no,
it with metronomes and saying, hey, that only works on metronomes. Like Bubbles just doesn't understand what it's about. It's demonstrating something in a lab that we see in nature all the time. The question
We
posed
don't.
is, why
We
do
don't
no.
see
things...
this in a.
Planets
The
do it
thing
all the
is
time.
that
What are you talking about?
hold on. The thing is that once we say the word metronome, it, it's 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 kind of, I guess, prescribed towards music, right?
I don't.
If,
They're not. They're
if,
not. They're not making music.
No,
no,
okay,
but you
here's
know,
what they
but the
here's what they
metronome.
they're
I'm
using the
sorry.
metronomes. Okay, basically there's like five metronomes on a piece of wood. All of them on a piece of wood, and they're like on top of two cylinders. And so what the
Yes.
metronomes they started at random starting points, but since to natural law they eventually due to the momentum they even out. And then Mark wants to say this is just spontaneous synchronicity. No,
Mm-hmm.
dimwit. This is because of the order that was
Don't call me
pre-established.
names, Bubbles. Like seriously, you are so rude. Like seriously,
What?
man. If you call me names, I'll start to call you names, and you won't like that, sir, because I can be
Oh, I'm
real
fine with it.
creative. Well, I mean, you're a frigging absolute bottom feeding, crawling little slime
Friggin'
with all the
ooh.
intelligence of a lobotomized frigging hamster. You like that?
Oh,
Okay,
wow,
Metro Midget.
lobotomized answer. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, so we see these phenomena about spontaneous
Lobotomized
synchron. I mean, I've
cretin.
got this article from UCLA. I might share it with Bubble so we actually learn something. We see these spontaneous synchronization in circadian rhythms, heart and intestinal muscles, insulin secreting cells in the pancreas, menstrual cycles, elephants, marching soldiers, fireflies. Like we notice this in all kinds of things. If you've ever seen this footage of soldiers going across a bridge and marching, and then they cause the bridge to basically wobble. That's why soldiers have to break step in march to go across a bridge.
Doug studied to be a surgeon before he joined the army.
Mark,
Who did
He
that?
decided he wanted to kill people instead, but he can give you yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is
first
just
off, the menstrual thing that's a created. Humans are created. You don't want to hear that, but they are.
okay. Can you demonstrate humans are created?
Hey, Mark, can you demonstrate to me a transitional between the Dalmatian and the Grey Wolf?
Yeah, sure.
What is that?
There's a number of them. I mean, the one's the Oberman. I can't remember the name of it offhand. It's the Oberman dog, Bon dog that was found in caves. There was the because here's the problem that
No.
with the evolution of dogs, there was massive amounts of interbreeding.
There's
So
there's no
there
evolution.
was a
Just stop
whole load of
stop
different
it.
precursor dogs that all sort of
That was
interbred,
just
and
a
there was
different-
recombination
That was
of the
a
gene
trial
sequence
Couple
back
kill
into
people.
that line. So in fact, in stuff like
was a trial
huskies
question,
and things like that, there was a tigret dog that was like, it's unique to huskies and malamutes and things like that. So when you're saying show me the direct link, there's no just one animal that's
Mark,
a
I'm
direct
trolling
link.
you.
It was a
You're
massive
never going to
amount
accept
of interbreeding
creationism.
of those wolf forms that actually
Mark,
led to the
Mark,
modern domestic dog. And this is what you don't understand, won't understand, and refuse to understand, because you've got this point that no one believes. Like, because dogs can still breed with wolves, nobody believes you, but you somehow think it's the best evidence for some reason that
Mark,
dogs were created separately, even though they can
yeah, 'cause
breed
you
with
can't answer it.
wolves.
That's why I keep using that argument, because you
Yeah,
guys can't
it's
answer
the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Like,
it's the
you
best.
take the
It's the best
case.
argument.
Really? Who have you convinced with it, Bubbles?
Mark, it's not about convincing you. It's
Oh
about making
no,
things
it's
look
not.
simple.
It's about like giving forward like just a claim. And even though dogs and wolves can breed still, which you haven't explained why they can if they're separate species.
Mark, I believe all human races were created
I don't
individually.
care what you believe. I don't care.
Why in
Like,
hell would that stop?
I'm interested
Why in
in what
hell
you
would
can
that stop
actually
that from?
demonstrate, not your inane, stupid
Mark,
claims that you pull out of your silly little behind and sort of go, well, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but I believe it. You haven't
Mark,
demonstrated
why in the
anything.
hell, Mark? Why in hell would that stop them from not breeding? If they
Well,
were
why would
created
what stop
individually,
you from not breeding?
okay. If I believe all human races were created individually, so why the hell would that stop them from mixing? That's not going to stop them
Oh,
from
so
mixing
you're a
just because
race realist, is that right?
is that a problem with you?
Well, we're kind of a bit racist, don't you think?
Okay, just because I'm a race realist, you think I hate black people all of a sudden?
No. Do you think any race is superior to another?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Now, stop trying to take away from the point I'm making. Just because they were created individually doesn't mean they can't freaking mix.
Yeah, can you demonstrate they were created individually?
I can.
Okay, go for it.
Well, again, we're gonna start with a. But there's no point doing it to you because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can demonstrate it. Oh, there's no point. Oh,
Mark,
yeah, there's no
you don't
point.
believe.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Bubbles. You can't demonstrate. This is what you get out
I
of
can.
Bubbles time and time again. He just claims stuff. He just says, "Oh, all the races were created separately." Oh, really? Can you demonstrate that? Yes. Oh, but I
The
don't feel
races
like
weren't
it
created
right now.
separately. I've actually got proof that
Mark,
shows that the
you don't think
races.
Well, you believe
If
in
you
Adam
get
and
a
Eve,
black,
right, Jason?
if you get a black man or a blonde, blue-eyed man, Norwegian,
Yeah.
ethnic that couldn't be any more different than each other. The biggest difference you'll find, right, is
Among
0.012%. That's a
Jason?
Sure. Yeah.
99.988% similarity.
Yeah, you're right.
Jason, hush.
You're right.
Okay, Mark. Okay,
No,
here, I'll prove it to
Jason's
you.
got a
Oh,
fair point.
no,
Like, the differences
Jason's
between
wrong and just
humans are
dumb.
almost
Here, Mark,
nothing.
I'll do it.
Like, nothing.
Mark.
And I don't agree with, he thinks they came from Adam and Eve, and that's fine. I don't agree with him, but that's fine. But you are not demonstrating that people
I'll do it.
were created separately. All you're doing is making the claim that it is so. I mean, at least
I'll do it.
Jason's got the Bible and some stuff to back him up. You've got literally nothing besides an assertion.
Oh, I can. Here, let's do
All
it.
right, go. What is it?
Well, you don't believe the genome is code, do you?
I'm still waiting for your evidence.
What do you believe the?
Yeah,
the,
are you going to
human
demonstrate
genome
that
is
humans were created separately or
code?
not?
Is the human genome a code? Yes or not?
Depends what you mean by code.
Oh my God.
Do I think it's a chemical
Hey, seriously?
sequence? Well, it depends, because some definitions, like sort of waves from a supernova, would be code. Like anything that conveys information, kind of thing, would be a code. But I don't consider that a code. I consider a code to be a second level language.
So you just think it's chemicals, right? That's all you think
it is chemicals. What are the 4 chemicals in DNA?
I'm talking about the genome.
What are the 4 chemicals in DNA? You don't know.
Something.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Why don't you know?
No,
If
so
you're
much
talking
for
about the
the
genome, why don't you know?
I just don't fucking remember them. I know it's A-T...
No, I don't know them.
That's okay. I mean,
Mark,
that's
Are
fine.
they?
Mark, the problem is you don't think the human genome is a code. Jason, hold
Making
up.
drugs and
Jason,
stuff.
hold up. Jason, Mark, you don't think the human genome is a code, so there's no point in trying to convince you.
Then how are you demonstrating it?
We can't demonstrate because you don't think it's a freaking code.
Well, then
You just think
demonstrate
it's
it's a
chemicals.
code.
We can. Here, here's do you know Richard Dawkins?
I want to
I'm aware
ask
of
something here.
Yeah, go pseudonym. I
Okay,
think
Richard
Bubbles is
Dawkins.
done for his
Do you
stupidity,
do you think Richard Dawkins is an authority?
No,
Is Richard
no,
Dawkins
I would
an
listen to
authority?
consensus rather
No,
than
it's
just
not.
one person. So this is the problem. You sort of pick out one
all of a
person.
sudden, Mark Reid, all of a sudden,
No,
Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins is not the person doing the
Genetic sequencing.
the actual research. So he'd be quoting other people. So
Jason, what the reason Mark is
Hold
trying
on,
to avoid this is because even
no.
Richard
Yeah, go
Dawkins has
pseudonym.
admitted
Bubbles
that it's
has
a
got
code.
nothing to say. Go pseudonym.
I'm
mate.
sticking up for you, man. I'm saying Richard Dawkins will be quoting other people. I'm sticking up for you. He's trying to bamboozle you.
No, I get you, Jason. I get you.
I can agree with Mark here because there is a difference. I know everything comes up as maybe a code, and I like to believe that, but there's also this other definition of a cipher.
Right.
So a cipher.
That's where we need LLP, but he's conspicuously
What happened to
not
him
here.
anyway? He's like vanished into thin air.
Oh,
kind of thing.
he just went and found himself some good woman or something. I think
Half his life.
he found a mad chick and
Oh.
decided and bailed. Yeah, that's
What?
it. I think it's
Is
something
he-
like that.
Is he still Christian or like? Because I mean, I have a
Yeah,
wife. It doesn't
yeah.
preclude me from being on YouTube, right? I mean,
No, I know, but he's
Yeah.
just obviously too
Well,
busy doing.
I hope he's well. It did cross my mind. I hope he's well and happy. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm going to take off, guys. This has been
just like
Jason Tail.
physical training and exercise with his missus and stuff. I
okay.
reckon.
Well, as long
Probably
as he's healthy and everything, that's cool. Anyway, it was a pleasure,
know
people.
what's
Except
going
for
on.
Bubbles.
Just
Bubbles,
myself.
you're terrible.
Just
You're
a
absolutely
guess.
terrible. Jason, it's always good
I
to
still
see
want
you.
those $1 million,
Thanks,
by the
pseudonym.
way.
Sorry.
Oh, don't forget to bring me my $1 million.
Yeah, Bubbles, you're an idiot. Like you bet me then that dogs didn't come from wolves, and dogs
Mark,
did.
I don't remember
So,
ever
yeah.
you providing to me a transitional, so you still owe me $1 million.
I just did, and I explained
No,
some
you
of the
didn't.
transitionals.
You
I did.
you
Didn't
didn't.
you hear me when I told you that huskies and malamutes had a specific ancestor to the rest of them, and that
Wait, you think
ancestor
huskies are
is
the
now
transitionals?
dead. It's now a extinct species. It doesn't exist. But
Wait, you think
only
huskies are
malamutes and
transitionals?
huskies had that ancestor species.
Malamutes
So
are
just because you talk over me and you won't listen doesn't make you right,
Mark,
Bubbles.
you
This
ain't
is the
got
thing.
You ain't got it, Mark. Just stop
Yeah,
pretending.
so you owe me $1 million. So where's my $1 million, Bubbles? Where's mine?
Mark,
Give me
I'm
my
the
$1
one who
million.
won.
No, give me my $1 million. I provided
you're
the
the one
name
who-
of
I won.
an ancestor species to huskies
Husky?
and malamutes. So
You
where's
think
my $1 million, Bubbles? I expect it next time I see
Malamutes
you.
are actually pretty dangerous, man. They're the sort
They
of dog
can
you
be.
really don't want to own if you own children. And
Yeah,
that.
they can be.
Like-
They can be very territorial.
I
and-
think I
and-
would rather. I think I would rather have a
I
Malamute
actually-
over a husky.
I actually had a
any day.
breeder here in New South Wales who had a warning on his website, and he said, if you get a Malamute, even if the Malamute grows up with the child from the time the child's a baby, if the Malamute is taller than the child, it'll always try and dominate the child. Do not have Malamutes around children that are smaller. It always has to be people that are taller, like adults and that.
That goes for
Malamutes are not really good around children at all.
That goes for any dog. That goes for like a bear or a cougar.
No. Malamutes
Really,
especially.
that's really
Especially.
unfair.
Because we're an
I think
No, it's
huskies
not
are more
unfair.
dangerous than
That's all right.
Malamutes for sure.
I've studied dogs and breeds and that for years, and I'm telling you that's
Doubt
not
it.
an unfair assessment.
I doubt it. Nobody's studied dogs more than me. It's my whole bread and butter.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the biologists out there they would bow to your expertise, Bubble. I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm
Mark,
sure.
Hey,
why are
I used to be a
PhD?
vet technician, if it matters, but
Yeah. Okay. So the one that bred into the Arctic breeds, Malamute and Husky, was the Timir one,
The Taimyr wolf?
Taimyr. Yeah. It's a
that's
wolf
like a massive.
species.
No, it's a massive
Mark,
mix.
It's a what?
A massive mix. The Malamute.
Yes, but it's still
Massive?
wolf.
What?
Mark, the Taimyr wolf isn't even in the freaking lineage from Dalmatian to wolf.
Unless you're trying to say dire
Yeah,
wolf
I
or
didn't say
something.
that. I said that was specific to the Malamute and Husky.
No, they're not.
Yes,
Dude,
they are.
all dogs.
I can provide a paper
They're
for
not.
it. I can put the paper in the chat. I put the paper in the chat and add mixture into high latitude breed. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, blow right, put him in, man. Malamute and
There you
Husky.
go.
Malamutes are a dangerous animal, man. I know about the Malamute from a long way. I studied dangerous breeds all my life. I've owned bulldogs and pit bulls and all sorts of things. And I know about Malamutes, mate. They're one of the most dangerous of all. They're
No
really
way.
dangerous.
No way. They're
If
on the
I
bottom
had
list.
if I had seven pit bulls guarding my property, they would not be anywhere near as effective as say 7 Malamutes. You got no
Yeah.
idea, mate. Malamutes are like
You're not American.
the world
In
killers.
America, pit
They're
bulls
just
are the
that's the world
main.
killers.
All right,
Malamutes
peeps.
have
You
got
take care, and
mouths
I'll
on them
see
that
you
can
later.
swallow your whole head and just